ancient and deeply embedded lessons. And so God, the wonderful wise Creator, also puts these same lessons inside of our own body so we don't forget. So whatever we take in, we have to eventually evacuate. We recognize that we also all have winter experiences in our life. And we have springtime experiences. And so it is in the spiritual life. Today's gospel works with us. And why Jesus first refers to nature as a way of putting things in perspective. So often as human beings, we can forget these deeply embedded lessons. And so they have to be repeated over and over again. That when we go through difficult, dark, lonely, painful times in our life, it is not God punishing us. It is not God condemning us. It is a part of reality. It's what it means to be a creature, or not the creator. This is the way God has made creation. That we do go through dark times. We do go through difficult times. You know, it was two great Spanish mystics, Teresa of Avila and John the Cross, who coined the phrase dark night of the soul. Unfortunately, it didn't translate too well in English. You see, we think of dark night as kind of like, well, there's something wrong, something evil when we're going through these times of desolation. Fogginess, a lack of clarity. It's not darkness in the sense of an oppressive darkness. It's you just can't see it clearly. I like what St. Ignatius said. He called it desolation. Desolation is a sense of separateness. This sense, not reality, but sense of separateness from God. Or we call the best of life. And so as we go through this, we are invited to remember who we are, to remember whose we are, so that we can find our way home. Think of it as like a divine GPS. When we choose to disconnect, of course we're going to feel lost. We're going to feel forgotten, lonely, and isolated. Today's gospel reminds us that behind every death experience, behind every loss, behind every failure, behind things where we feel we're totally disconnected from anything and everyone, there is always new life. And typically it comes in surprising ways. Let me tell you the story of my brother Daniel. Daniel was married for 21 years, and he and his wife had 4 children. It was a very difficult marriage from the get-go. It appears that my former sister-in-law suffered from an undiagnosed personality disorder. But be that as it may, the two of them hung in there for many years and created 4 lovely children. Daniel, as a good Catholic, certainly didn't want to move towards a divorce, but indeed his hand was forced when his wife basically threw him out of the house. So the long and the short of it was, Daniel went into a deep, deep darkness of desolation. So much so that he literally was on the edge of suicide. It was a very painful time for him, for the family. We tried to work with him in this. Long and the short of it is that Daniel patiently waited for the oscuridad to lift, so he can begin to see clearly. Through his own commitment to prayer, his faith, support of family and friends, and a very powerful ritual that he went through, he finally was able to find a stable ground to say, okay, I'm ready to move on. And in a wonderful twist of grace, he decided as part of his therapy that he would take on the task of being the player coach for the parish's softball team. And one day he happened to notice that one of the players, the way that she was running around the bases, kind of caught his attention. And long and the short of it was he fell in love with this player, and they've been happily married now for 7-8 years. He never guessed he'd marry again. But it's a wonderful gift for all of us to watch how happy this man is, and his wife as well. To see that he was surprisingly reoriented just by trusting the fact that, yeah, there's a very deep and dark and desolate time. Each of us have gone and will continue to go through these dark and desolate times. God is not punishing us. Rather, God is with us and sees us through the clarity of a new day. That, my friends, is called the resurrected power of God's love.